First we have Nikki Levy. She's from Long Island, New York, graduated from Duke University in 2017 with a BA in Visual and Media Studies and a certificate in Marketing Management. And after graduation, Nikki joined the Page program at NBC Universal, which is a year-long national program focused on teaching the fundamentals of the media industry. And throughout the program, she had rotations with e-news production, news marketing, and business operations strategy. And after the program, Nikki joined the Insights and Measurement team at NBCU, focused on research to best position NBCU in the marketplace across TV, digital, and social platforms. And in her current role, Nikki works on the measurement and impact team for Peacock, NBCU's news streaming service. And her team plays a critical role in delivering on strategic goals for Peacock growth and engagement, helping to launch and build a successful service. With a specific focus on translating data and analytics into actionable insights, Nikki has developed into an experienced media professional and researcher in the entertainment industry and streaming landscape. And then we have Emma Welch, who is from Atlanta, Georgia, and graduated from Duke in 2016 with a degree in public policy. She started in the mailroom at talent agency UTA before moving on to another talent agency, CAA. At CAA, she started working primarily with digital creators and eventually moved over to TikTok's creator team, where she worked to advise TikTok creators on content strategy and community building. And she recently moved over to LinkedIn's creator team, where she is doing the same thing with professional creators. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to basically be asking a series of questions to our panelists, and then we'll have time at the end if anyone has any additional questions. So my first question is, I kind of want to just know, did you guys go straight into the entertainment industry, or did you evolve into it some other way, or did you always know that you wanted to kind of do the job you were in?
Emma, you want to go first?
Sure. I actually have a counter question for you real quick, Callie. Am I allowed to just admit people from the waiting room when I see them?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Start letting everyone in. Didn't want to do that if it wasn't allowed. Hi, everybody. I was actually just talking to Lydia about this. I definitely did not start in entertainment. I was in Macy's executive development program right out of college. So it's like a rotational program. I did it for about a year, and I actually have a funny story that they were doing a collaboration with Trolls, the Trolls animated movie. And we were working with Betsy Johnson to do like a Macy's exclusive Trolls purse. And I was like, this is so fun. And so I ended up talking to some not colleagues, other coworkers that had left and gone to talent agencies, and Duke people who had gone to talent agencies. And they're like, you can do that for work all the time, just do like product launches for movies. And so I came out to UTA thinking that that's what I would do. And then I pivoted, obviously, but yeah, definitely did not start there.
I did. I also did a rotational program right out of college, but in the media industry at NBC. Like Tally mentioned, it's called the Page program. It's a year-long rotational program that's really good for people that want to be in entertainment and media, but don't really know what area they want to be in. So the whole point is every 3 months you rotate throughout a different part of the company, and you have to each of your rotations has to be in a different area of the NBC brand. So you have to do something that's production focused, something that's consumer focused, like a marketing or PR or sales. And then you have to do something more on the business side. So it's really good for people who don't know what they want to do in the media industry. But yeah, I've been with NBC since I graduated, so I've always been in media.
And then just a follow-up question, Nikki. Oh, sorry. How did you like get involved in the Page program? Or was that something you applied for outside of Duke, or was like something you went through Duke to do?
Yeah, no, it was something I applied through outside of Duke. I had heard about the program through a family member who worked at NBC. It's obviously a huge company, so she wasn't a former Page, but she worked at the company and told me it was great for recent graduates who just didn't know what they wanted to do. So I decided I wanted to apply, but obviously a lot of people apply and you want to make sure your application gets noticed. So I actually reached out to a Duke alumni who was a year ahead of me, so that graduated in 2016, on LinkedIn, who I saw was in the Page program. Her name's Sam, and she answered me, and I told her I was applying, and she became really helpful, helped me throughout the entire application and interview process. So who knows what would have happened if, you know, I didn't reach out to her, but yeah, she definitely was the one that like gave me all like kind of the inside scoop on the ins and outs of the program and the process and whatnot. So inadvertently, like through that, a Duke alumni definitely helped me, and she was only a year ahead of me, so it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like do you both feel like the alumni network is really strong after college? I think that a lot of people talk about that, and like, I don't know, maybe you guys can speak specifically to entertainment or just like in general to the companies that you've worked at, but do you feel that it's been helpful in finding you jobs and programs outside of Duke?
Yes, I mean, for me, like I just said, that was probably one of the main reasons I was able to even get past the first stage of the application process, because Sam was so willing to talk to me about her experiences and kind of just things that they're looking for in the program, things that, you know, they're not as interested in seeing in candidates and whatnot. So I was able to really tailor my application based on the advice that she gave me. So yeah, definitely. And I have Duke students, like former and current, that reach out to me all the time, and I'm always happy to help with them. So for sure.
I definitely agree. I got my job at UTA because of a Duke alum who is a pretty senior agent there. And then my current boss at LinkedIn is a Duke alum who called me up one day and said, I'm going to go start the creator team at LinkedIn. Do you want to come with me? So I just knew him from like networking through Duke stuff. So definitely helpful.
And are you both located? Where are you both located right now?
I'm in Los Angeles, and actually speaking of, there's a really, really great Duke community in LA. It's much smaller than other cities. I think New York and DC are like the biggest, and LA is not maybe like the top 5 biggest, but they're really loyal. A lot of them work in entertainment, and there's a lot of Duke alums who have really, really great careers in entertainment who are willing to help.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm based in New York. I'm in the city. But even within NBC, there's like, I remember my first day when I started at NBC, they like sent out a welcome email to your team and whatnot. And like immediately I had like 2 people reply saying like, go Blue Devils. And we've always had that little connection. So for sure.
Yeah. So follow up to that, do you both think that it's really important to be in, like, I know that LA and New York both have really big like that's where most of the entertainment jobs would be. Do you think that you have to be in either one of those cities, or can you kind of like, do you know of like locations other than that that also have jobs in the entertainment industry? Like, what's your take on that?
I think it kind of depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to be in physical production, you can probably live somewhere like Atlanta. But like if you want to be in, you know, film and TV, you probably need to live in LA. If you want to be, you know, in book publishing or theater or doing what Nikki does, you probably need to be in New York.
Yeah, I'd say even just going off of that, the PAGE program that I did right after I graduated, there's a New York one, there's an East Coast one in New York and a West Coast one based in LA. And the structure is relatively similar, but there are parts of it that are different because you're just on different coasts. So there's a component on the East Coast in New York where you get to work all of the late night shows, like the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon and Late Night with Seth Meyers and SNL, and you get to, you know, work for the Today Show, and then because all of our news and whatnot is based in New York. But if you're in LA, you get to, you know, be on the lot and you get to be on the film sets and whatnot. So it also, like specifically for NBC, different parts of the business are based on different coasts.
Yeah, that's great. I also wanted to know kind of what your day-to-day looked like in your current roles, and if maybe like you like a past role better, maybe you could explain that too.
I can go first. So I've been at NBC since I graduated in 2017, but this is my 3rd role or 3rd team I've been on since I've been here. So I pivoted a few times in the past few years. I would say the PAGE program was great. It really allowed you to, you know, get a full view of the company. And then I joined the research team, kind of focusing more on the whole NBC portfolio. It's obviously a huge company. And then the last year and a half, 2 years, I joined Peacock, which is our new streaming service. And that's been, really exciting getting to kind of we only launched last April. So getting to be on, a team that's building something from the ground up. And I would say the day-to-day has definitely been not so black and white, just because it's a new part of the company. And while there is a lot of kind of eyes on it and there's a lot of resources being put behind it, because streaming is, a hot area right now outside of just traditional television. The day-to-day can definitely vary because of that, but I think also because of that, you get kind of more space to be creative. And I work in research and data and analytics pretty much. So when there's not really a clear path on how we want to position Peacock in the marketplace, there's kind of more freedom in the day-to-day to kind of explore different angles of how you want to showcase it.
I feel like we're very good like co-panelists because my day is like the complete opposite. But my days are basically entirely just like relationship management. I basically spend all day just talking to my creators. So, and that's the same thing at an agency kind of. It's the same thing at TikTok. It was just like different topics. So basically I wake up, I've got 10 emails in my inbox. I'm locked out of my account. This post isn't doing as well as I wanted to do it. Can you, have a meeting with me today to talk about my live strategy or whatever? And then I just spent all day texting on the phone and on Zooms with my creators. And then aside from all of those sort of needy requests, I get to do a lot of the like touchy-feely stuff too. So it's a lot of coffee dates, dinner dates, happy birthday, here's a cake kind of stuff, sending merch. That makes it sound all rosy. It's a lot of tech support too, but it's basically just people all day long.
Yeah, we are good co-panelists. That's
we're opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, mine is definitely more like numbers based, and like I'm in Excel and I'm pulling, reports and analytics to see what's doing well on the platform. And I think to some that may sound boring, or you're in Excel and numbers all day, but when the numbers you're looking at are like how well The Office did on the platform, and you're understanding who watched it and how it's doing on Peacock versus how it did when it was on NBC years ago, it's, to me, I find it fun because you're looking at numbers of things that you're actually a fan of and that you watch and what you're analyzing. So those are kind of more so the stories you tell, even though it is all, numbers based.
Well, and I'll say people like me like worship at the feet of people like Nikki, right? Like all my creators want to know, or like if you're working in an agency and you're working with actors, all they want to know is like how well did something do and how can they do better next time? And they want to know the numbers, and it's really hard to get that information. And there's so few people like Nikki, and we're all just like clamoring for information. So it's definitely a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I know you both we talked about like kind of what you guys both majored in when you were at Duke. Would you say that what you majored in and what you studied here has helped you or like gotten you anywhere like in your jobs today? Or do you think that you got your skills from like somewhere else, like outside of what your classes you were studying and stuff?
Interesting one. I mean, I definitely don't do anything related to public policy, I think, but I loved it. It definitely helps me in like my real life. Like I understand what's happening in government. This is like a very sort of tangential way it helped me, but I'm actually in night law school. So I do like part-time law school. And part of why I do that is because a lot of my job is negotiating contracts on behalf of clients when they're going to do partnerships or if we're paying them to do something. And so I was like, this will be a good thing to just sort of like add to my skill set. And I think being a public policy major helped me get into law school, which helped my job. But I don't know, I'm curious what you think, Nikki, about your major.
So I did VMS as my major and then the markets and management certificate. I mean, it does line up, I am in, media and marketing and business. So it lines up with, the sector, the industry I'm in. I don't know if courses per se, like gave me like transferable skills, but I mean, I think the reason I did the MMS certificate is because there's no like undergrad business degree at Duke. So that was what I thought that was helpful regardless of what industry you're in, to just learn how to market, and how to manage things or whatnot. So I think that was helpful, just like understanding like that side of things, because no matter what industry you're in, you need to have kind of a basic, business knowledge. I would say for VMS, a lot of it is what you make of it. The electives can kind of, from what I remember, the electives are really up to you on the direction you want to go in. I had a friend that was VMS that took all our history made electives, and now she works in the art industry. But I took electives that were a little bit more like tech and media focused. So that lent itself more to like the direction I went into. So I would say like the core classes, maybe not so much, but there were some electives that you could pick or lean into that like were more aligned with what your interests were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what year everybody on the call is, but like, I feel like for the most part, no one's really gonna care what you majored in. So you should just like sort of follow what you're interested in and pick a major that appeals to you, and then like work entertainment into it however you can. Like if you're like a sociology major, you can write papers about how entertainment and media has like impacted people, or psychology, but don't think that you have to be, whatever major to like get a job in entertainment.
Yeah, so going from there, what was your first role like coming out of college that you got? Did you, like, I know we talked about kind of, did you evolve into it, but like, how did you go about getting your first job out of college? And like, was it an internship that led you there?
Like, again, we're gonna like super different answers here. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I didn't have, and again, I think there's a lot of pressure at Duke to have like the perfect internship, and a lot of people that work in other industries outside of entertainment, they may have offers at the end of junior year or whatnot, but in the entertainment and media industry, that's 9 times out of 10 not the case. I don't think I had my offer for the program until July, after I guess we graduated in May, and then I was interviewing and I didn't hear back until July. So definitely prepare yourself for that, which isn't great, but it's just different things for different industries. But I didn't have any internships that were at any big, well-known media companies. And a lot of people at NBC that work there now, did have that. Maybe they interned there over the summer and whatnot. I didn't have that, but I don't think that necessarily was a bad thing. I think it just, I've pivoted at, like I worked at a startup one summer and whatnot. You just have to figure out how to like pivot it to make sense. So for me, I didn't work at, an MTV or something before, which maybe other people did, but I worked at a startup where I had a lot more hands-on responsibility because it was a smaller team, and I was able to contribute more and have actual tangible projects that I worked on that I could speak to. So that was kind of an angle I took. And I think that when I was interviewing with NBC out of college, they appreciated that I had, more hands-on experience and diverse experiences rather than just working at a huge company and it maybe not giving me as much hands-on experience.
Yeah, I was pretty similar. I interned at a fashion startup between my junior and senior year out in LA. And then I moved to New York after graduation to do Macy's. So I really thought I was going to go into fashion. What I think was most helpful about my internship was that I got to experience living in LA. And then I was able to do New York and be like, okay, I liked LA more. How can I like move over there? So I would consider that in your internships of like getting to experience a city. Maybe that's not a thing right now with like virtual, but you know what I mean? But I do think something about like both of our first jobs that I really found so much value in, not really my first job, but like when I was in the mailroom at UTA, best experience. I like 10 out of 10 recommend. And I imagine the Page program is like this because you meet people who are your same age, who have also just moved into the city that you've moved into. They become great friends of yours. You're all sort of like in it together. And then you learn a bunch about the entire company. You figure out exactly where you want to be. And I still am like very good friends with a lot of people from my mailroom class, and they have really cool entertainment jobs now. Some of them are creative execs at like big time production companies. And that doesn't help me as much because I'm not like really in film and TV, but like if I wanted to be, it's great to have those connections. So I recommend looking for something like that, like a Page program or a rotational or mailroom.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think coming out of college, it helps to have like a cohort of people, like Emma said, that you can like lean on. I'm also really good friends still with all my Page program. Like there was 20 of us in our class. we're not all still at NBC. But like she said, like they're now, like maybe half of us have left at this point a few years later, and they're all doing really cool things in, you know, related industries that I know I could always reach out down the line if I was ready to leave or whatnot. And I also just think like a program like that, like in the mailroom or a rotational program that I did, it just gives structure to having that structure. I found to be really helpful out of college when you honestly don't really know what you're doing. So I found that to be really, really helpful as like your first introduction to like the real professional world.
And if you don't have something like that, you can really lean on like the Duke people in the city. I would recommend that too, because there'll be a cohort of Duke people that you'll all find when you graduate, that you'll be like moving to a city and you'll be like, who else from my class is moving there? And it'll be people that you didn't really like hang out with that much at Duke, but then you'll like become friends with them just because they're like, you know, in the same city as you. So lean on those people and don't be afraid to like befriend someone that you weren't necessarily friends with in college.
Yeah. And then while you were both at Duke, were you a part of any like clubs or like organizations that you felt were really, really helpful to you, or like during Duke or like after Duke?
I mean, I definitely have one. I don't even know what's happening with all of this these days, but I was the VP of recruitment my junior year for Panhandle, and then I was president of Panhandle my senior year. And I loved it. I felt like it was super impactful and like being successful early on in my career, because I was just able to like understand. I mean, we had a budget at Panhandle that we were managing that was like not an insignificant amount of money. Recruitment costs a lot. So it was like I had this experience managing money and talking to people and being professional, and I found a lot of value in that.
I'm trying to remember if I was in any other clubs. I was in Bo, obviously, which I found to be really helpful. Just because I do think they actually bring like tangible opportunities and people that actually want to help you. So I remember just anything that I thought like remotely could be interesting. Like I just attended, and anyone that speaks on these or comes to talk to Bo is willing to help you or talk to you. So I just remember going to all of them and like making sure I got everyone's email address. And then, you know, down the line, if it was nearing the end of the school year and it was internship time, I had emails on hand that I could reach out to, and they could flag my application when I applied to things. So I remember thinking Bo was the most helpful just because it actually brought people that could actually help me when I was like looking for a job or an internship or something, and just like taking advantage of being able to reach out to them, because like I'm sure Emma and I like will have our contact information after this if you wanted it.
Which, by the way, I was not in Bo, but when Tally reached out, she was like, I'm a part of Bo, business-oriented women. I was like, yeah, I know what Bo is. Like, it's been around a while. It's like, I feel like has a very good reputation. So don't be afraid to like flash it out, even if the person wasn't there.
Yeah. And then kind of, if you guys wanted to talk about, like, I wanted to know, what's your favorite and least favorite part of your job that you have right now?
That was fun.
I think my favorite part has been launching a streaming service. I think that NBC is obviously a huge company. It's been around for a really long time. And it's traditional in many ways, but Peacock is kind of the part of the company that shows that they're forward thinking and they're trying to be innovative and kind of keep up with the times. So it's been really exciting to kind of work on this part of a huge company that, you know, has a lot of pressure behind it. And it's been really like a great opportunity to launch something from the ground up. We kind of say that we act as kind of like a startup within this larger company. So I really enjoy that component, and that everyone on, I think half of your job is liking the people you work with, 100%, at least in my experience. And everyone that, you know, is on the Peacock team is passionate about seeing it succeed, and figuring it out together on how to, you know, make it work, and how do we compare ourselves to a Netflix or a Hulu and these other giants that have been around for a long time. So I definitely would say, you know, that's my favorite part, the people, and that everyone just wants to make it work, even though we're only, you know, a year, 2 years old. I would say least favorite, flip side of that, because we're so new, there's a lot of information that is confidential that we can't share externally, that there's kind of a lot of like red tape around. So that can be frustrating sometimes, just as, you know, wanting to be able to dig further into the data or whatnot, and not being not having access to it or being able to, but not being able to share that with other people. That could definitely be frustrating.
Okay, my favorite part is definitely my creators who I genuinely have like become friends with. And so when I was at TikTok, I was friends with my creators and we keep in touch still now that I've left. And at LinkedIn, I'm like kind of new and learning my creators still, but like you really do become friends with them. And it's great to like, basically I get paid to like talk to my friends all day. The flip side of that is that sometimes I like give a lot of myself to people. Like I am on Zoom all day long. I don't really get to like have a lazy day and like wear my pajamas. I'm like I get exhausted by sort of like performing all day. And I would say another thing that like just is I think a more relevant consideration for everybody is that I'm fully remote. Like I will never ever go back into an office. I'm based in LA and LinkedIn doesn't have an LA office. And that's honestly part of why I took the job at the beginning. TikTok had very much like a staunch, we're never going to work from home. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to go back to the office. So I'm going to do that. And it's been a little bit of like a double-edged sword. Like it definitely gets a little lonely. It's a little hard to like meet your coworkers and like get really friendly with them. So I know a lot of you are probably job hunting right now, and a lot of the jobs you're looking at might be fully remote forever. So I would just really think long and hard about like what kind of person you are socially.
Yeah, and then just a follow up, because I know that Nikki, you said that you really like the people you work with, and then Emma, you said you love working with your creators. Would you say that both of your jobs are like a very collaborative environment, or do you feel like you're doing a lot of independent work day to day?
I feel like yours is the most collaborative.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a little bit of both. Like I definitely, basically my team is just like full of creator managers who have like 100 people that they're working with. And so when it comes to my creators, like I'm the only person that talks to them. I don't have a coworker to like complain about them or to like ask advice on something. I can be like, what do you think of this person's profile, and send a link, but it's like they're not going to know everything. And so in that way, sometimes I feel like I could go a whole day and like not talk to anybody who actually works at LinkedIn and just spend all day talking to creators. But there's a lot of like, we're a brand new team. I think it's sort of similar to Nikki. Like we're brand new teams who are trying to like figure stuff out. And that part of it's really collaborative. So there's a lot of like, hey, does anyone know what to do in this situation? Do we even have a policy for this or comms for this or a product that does this? So I don't know, kind of both.
I would say, yeah, mine is super collaborative, definitely. My like immediate Peacock research team is not super big. I think it's like 4 of us. But we're constantly talking all the time. Like I pulled this, does this make sense? Like, is there another way you would word this? So like sales or marketing team will understand it better. But like Emma said, like a lot of people come to us like for the numbers. They want to know how something performed or what the top show is, or just like any questions related to the platform. So we work really closely with sales and marketing for like one-off asks like that, but also to build out like our actual core pitch materials. Like I'm working on decks all the time, and we also have to make sure that, when they're being used outside of NBC or outside of the research world, that, visually they look good, that they make sense, and that, it's easy to understand and whatnot. So we work really closely with sales and marketing on that to make sure that it's external friendly, I guess, is the phrase we'll use.
Yeah. And then I know that Nikki, you said that you're like one of your favorite parts was like launching the streaming service. Could you each talk about one of your favorite projects that you've worked on like since being at either LinkedIn or TikTok and then at NBC?
Go first. Yeah, I would say launch a Peacock, obviously, but even that, like we've had a lot of specific events that, it's my team's job to kind of put together recap reports on for how things did. So the Olympics is obviously a prime example that we had over the summer. And not all of it was on Peacock, but a lot of it was. And that was obviously a big moment for us because that obviously drove a lot of users to the platform. And it was kind of my team's job to do like a deep dive analysis on how it did in terms of driving consumption, driving scale, driving engagement, seeing peaks and signups to the platform, but also what Olympics content were they leaning into on the platform? Was it a different audience than the audience that watched NBC on TV, if you maybe did it that way? And just kind of really doing like a deep dive in that. It was really interesting to also, like I said, it's fun for me to watch the Olympics like at home, and then like I come to work and my job is to do an analysis on how that did when I was a viewer of it. So that was a really cool project also because it was just obviously a big 2 weeks for the company as a whole, and Peacock was kind of a big driver of overall, digital consumption for the Olympics. So that was definitely a fun project, the Olympics recap.
I am going to talk about TikTok because I'm still pretty new at LinkedIn, and basically our whole team is at launch. So we're working on that. But I was at TikTok pre-pandemic, and honestly, when I went there, everyone was like, what are you doing with your life? You're leaving CAA to go to this app that like my 13-year-old cousin is on. Like, it was really kind of not cool back then. I feel like everyone looks at it with rose-colored glasses now, but it was not cool. So when we got sent home for the pandemic, we were like in panic mode, and we launched live streaming on TikTok. Like, live was not a thing that existed before March 2020. And so that was a really exciting thing. We basically did like a week long, because, remember at the beginning, we all thought this was going to be like a couple weeks. So we were like, we'll do a stay-at-home week where for like a week, every night we'll have like a concert on live, or someone will like live stream from their house, whether it was like a creator or public figure or like the NFL or something. So that was really exciting, because then as this was not a week long, I got to see how like live ended up developing on the platform. And now, an everyday user can just like go live whenever they want, which is like so wild to me because we just didn't even have that feature. And then I was also there when we launched the Creator Fund, which is the fund where you can basically like get views for money, which that one I was like a little less involved in, and have a lot stronger feelings about how that was like not the best way to launch it. We had just gotten a new CEO who came from Disney, and he lasted probably a month, and while he was there, launched that fund and then left us. And then another fun one was we had like we called it the Creative Learning Fund at first. So I don't know if any of you are on TikTok, but you probably saw starting like July 2020, we started paying people to like post educational content. And they would always do like hashtag EduTalk or hashtag TikTok partner in conjunction. So if you ever saw videos with both of those, so we paid like aquariums and the Discovery Channel and just like people who are chiropractors or dentists or whatever on LinkedIn or on TikTok. I get them confused. And that was really cool because I felt like TikTok was being useful to people. That was sort of the whole impetus behind it. We were like, if people are going to melt their brains on this app, we want like some useful information. And I feel like we did that. And I feel like the overall tenor of the app kind of changed after that. It became much less dance and much more sort of like storytelling. That was a lot.
And then I kind of wanted to know, what do you guys think employers are looking for in like new college graduates? What kind of skills, what kinds of things do you think are important for college graduates to know, or anyone looking to intern in the entertainment industry?
I have such a strong opinion on this one. Okay. I think a lot of people fresh out of college try too hard to be too professional. You obviously want to like, do all the correct things. Like, don't wear jeans if you're not allowed to for the job, or, be prepared for the interview, but don't be afraid to show your personality. The number of interviews I've done where people are just like, I'm a robot and like, I have no interest outside of doing this job and work. And it's like, at least for the jobs I've done, tell me who you like on TikTok. Tell me who you follow on LinkedIn. Like, I want to know what you're interested in. If you're in an interview with me right now and you're like, there are no chefs on LinkedIn, and like, I love chefs and I follow chefs on Instagram and TikTok and I like wish there were, I'd be like, yes, they have something that they're like into and passionate about. So don't be afraid to show your personality. I know that's not really skill, but like, most people are going to hire you for your personality, not for your skills.
Yeah, that's a good one because everything really is teachable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um,
People have to work with you. They want to know that they will like working with you.
Yeah. I would say two other things that I think are really important is I think being flexible is like number one, because I think a lot of times the job description doesn't always line up exactly with what you do. So I think making sure that you're like go with the flow and that you're flexible and that you're able to like pivot really quickly is super important, especially in like media and entertainment. Things are different all the time and fast paced and whatnot. So I think being able to kind of like roll with the punches in those situations is really important. And what was my other one? Oh, I think just as like a recent grad being like in a junior level position, I think it's all about just like saying yes and raising your hand. I know a lot of times, like when I was an intern, maybe there wasn't always something for me to do because the team maybe was busy and like forgot that I was there as a resource. But I think never be afraid to kind of just raise your hand and show that you're there to help in any way. Like a lot of times we even have other people under me or interns or whatnot on our team. And sometimes you forget that they're there to help just because you're so caught up in doing it yourself. But that subtle reminder of someone just pinging you saying like, hey, I'm free for the next 2 hours. You need help with anything definitely goes a long way.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And then do either of you like regret anything? Do you wish you had taken part in something in Duke, or like is there something you wish you would have known going into the entertainment industry or just in any job in general?
Ooh. I generally wish at Duke that I had just leaned into my interests more and focused less on like what I thought people were gonna like want from me. Like I would have thought, oh, I need a more like serious major, or like I need to, have the perfect internship or whatever. But I think like in hindsight, I love like the Real Housewives, right? Which has come in handy in my real life job. But like at Duke, I would have never been like, how can I like write this paper about the Real Housewives? Like I would have been like, my professor will hate me. But I wish I had done stuff like that, right? Like I wish I had just been like if you love movies, just like do movie shit, like watch a lot of movies. It's before I worked at TikTok, I spent a shit ton of time on the app and I was like, I'm wasting my life. And then I was like, wait a second. I didn't waste my life because I know the creators, I know what I like, and I like have fun doing this. So just like take it a little less seriously. Maybe that's horrible advice. And just like really follow what you're into and like just be unapologetic about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally, I agree 100%. Like if you love the Housewives, like come work at NBC, like and there's a million different things you could do there. You could do marketing for the shows, you could do PR, you could work with the talent, you could be on the Bravo research team that does research on how the shows are doing and then give input to the production team on, a storyline that they could lean into next season that, did really well when you dug into the data or something. There's so many different ways that you can get involved in content that you're interested in.
Yeah, I would have thought that was like not a serious enough job when I was at Duke.
No, and it's
I would have been like, I went to Duke.
I know a bunch of people that like do those exact jobs I did, and it's fun. They get to, it's like great legit jobs, and they get to work with Housewives content that they love. So it just makes your job fun. I would say the only other thing, I remember people giving me this advice also when I was trying to interview and whatnot. If there's like an industry or company or something that you're interested in, maybe just, if someone works there, just ask them if there's any hard skills that you think that like they think that are make or breaks for the role. Not, a lot of jobs don't have that, but if you want to go into something in data analytics and, you need to know certain like coding languages, you need to know SQL or something like that, that's a make or break. Then you could take like a SQL class over the summer or like
or on LinkedIn Learning.
Or exactly on LinkedIn Learning. Like if there's little things like that where certain industries and jobs, you just do need certain skills. Just ask, the people if there's anything, and then you can take it in under your own control to learn it and on the side if you have time.
Another thing I would say, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Is like, if you're networking with alums, keep up with them, because I think I like alluded to this, but I think it's just like such a good Duke story that, so my current boss is somebody that I reached out to when I was an undergrad, and he was working at Instagram. And I tried to get a job at Instagram, didn't get it. He like had put me up for it. And I was kind of like, okay, maybe he like didn't like me as much as I thought he did, because maybe I would have gotten the job or whatever. And I ended up just kind of like keeping him up to date on everything, being like, hey, FYI, I moved to TikTok. Hey, I just saw the Instagram release this product, like super exciting. And then he literally called me one day and was like, do you want a job at LinkedIn with me? So, just keep up with these people. People also like help you. And at the end of the day, they might not be able to like get you the job, but they'll try. And don't think that like they don't like you if you don't get the job. And keep up with them.
Yeah, and then what I was going to ask was, is there anything, I know, like you said, to ask about hard skills that you may need for certain industries or job positions, but are there certain things you feel are important to highlight on like a resume or to bring up in an interview that you think just makes you stand out, like in a candidate pool?
That's a great question. I think coming from like your first job out of college, if you're still in college and you're interning or whatnot, everyone knows that you don't have like super like amazing, like a lengthy resume of so much experience because you haven't graduated yet. They know that it's not as lengthy as someone that's been in the workforce for years. So I think employers understand that. So I would always come handy with like I would practice like telling your story out loud and like having actual anecdotes to lean into of projects that you worked on. I remember when I was interviewing for internships, there was one class in, marketing management where like we actually built out like a case study for a client and I had like a whole deck to show on it. And speaking to those like tangible accomplishments, I found to be really helpful when you have less, professional experience. And then if anything, you brought it up on the call of, something you spoke to that seemed to really stand out for them, you could always follow up in your thing, and actually send them that sample work that you put together in one of your courses. So I would say that would be helpful, or that was helpful for me, at least when I was still in school, having examples of actual tangible things I worked on.
In a similar vein, I think like a lot of people sort of skim resumes, especially like maybe HR really read your resume, but right before you get on an interview with the team member, they're probably just getting off another meeting and they pull up your resume and they like skim through it really quick before your interview. So having this sort of like, not like brand names, but like name the things you're doing, right? Like if I was interviewing Nikki and pulled it up and I saw going through her resume and I was just like, oh, Olympics, like it's cool. She worked on the Olympics and that gives me like sort of something to talk about. So don't be afraid to be like, I worked with this client, this brand, this, creator or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I guess kind of just like a culmination of all the things we were just talking about, is there any other kinds of pieces of advice that you would want to give to anyone who wants to go into the entertainment industry or just in business in general? Yeah, just anything else you want to add?
I would say just of everything we said, just like, don't be afraid to reach out to people. I think a lot of times these big media companies, like submitting a resume blindly online, like there's a zillion people. So reaching out to a Duke alum or someone that that can flag your resume can only help you. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. It's easy as just sending you a link or typing in your email into something. So I would say just don't be afraid to like reach out and network. I know it's like a weird thing initially, but I feel like people are always happy to talk, even now.
Alums like it, guys. You're not being a burden. Like I think alums generally get excited about being able to talk to students.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's kind of it for my question. So I wanted to open it up to the audience and see if anyone else had any questions that they wanted to ask. You feel free to put in the chat or raise your hand, unmute yourself if anyone has.
I have a question regarding the mailroom experience.
Yeah.
So like because that's something I'm going to apply for like this summer, but like, I don't even know what it is. Am I handing out mail or is that like the name or like what's going on? Because I've heard it's like the lowest of the lows.
I mean, it definitely is. but it's real fun. It kind of depends on like what agency you work at. So at UTA, you literally sorted and delivered mail. So that would mean like if fan mail came in for a client, you have to like know who their agent is and you put it in that agent's pile, and then you push the mailroom cart around and you drop the mail off at that agent's desk. Or if it's actual mail for them too. And also at UTA, you would get to like cover desks. So if an assistant is out sick or has a doctor's appointment or whatever and can't be at their desk, you kind of go and cover the phones from the mailroom, which you're really only in the mailroom for like a month or two. So it's like, yeah, you're the lowest low, but whatever. It's a month, get over it. And you'll go and you'll interview for a desk, and then you'll be an assistant on that desk. And you basically, as you're an assistant, you just answer phones, schedule for your boss over email, deal with the client's needs. So whether that's like, if you're on a talent desk, getting your client set up to do audition tapes for stuff. If you're a lit agent, or you're on a lit agent's desk, sending in their sample scripts to studios. So it's pretty administrative, but you learn a ton and it's really social and fun. So I 10 out of 10 recommend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, you should hit me up because we should talk about, there's pretty much one Duke person. There's pretty much one Duke person at every agency. So you just got to make the rounds, hit them all up.
Yeah, Lydia, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. This isn't as like professional development oriented, but something I'm always curious to ask people who work in entertainment is that like entertainment and social media is constantly evolving. There's always like so much new stuff and new tech coming out that I'm really curious in your opinions. Like, what is something that has either really sparked your attention or that you think might be like the next big thing, like it's NFTs or like AR, VR implementations or anything like that?
Good question. I would say for the space I'm in streaming, I would say like the next big thing for streamers is like the live component. I think, originally when Peacock launched, we were focused on getting a lot of our older content and acquired series like The Office or Yellowstone or something like that, like things that had already previously aired, and then working on, our original program and whatnot. But recently we've seen live sporting events in particular doing really, really well on the platform. So like the NFL, for example, or WWE does weirdly really well on the platform. The Olympics are another obviously example. So I would say in the streaming space, at least, streaming services are really leaning into the live component outside of just, the library content that they already have.
What's interesting about that is like, so my job's kind of different. Like, I feel like entertainment, like traditional film and TV and stuff, and like social media are different, but I was going to kind of say the same thing. Like for me, live streaming is such an opportunity right now. And like when I was at TikTok, the WWE lives would kill. And so it's interesting that like, it kind of works on both.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, Jules.
So I think, Emma, you kind of like mentioned this very quickly, but you said that when you were in undergrad, you didn't always see this as like a viable career opportunity or like a serious job. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for people who are finding it hard to get over that hump. Like I really do know what excites me and makes me passionate, but I can't smush like the thought in my head that like, oh, I'm a Duke student. I went to Duke University. Like I have to have such a professional seeming job, and that following what's fun doesn't seem like that. So I was wondering if you have any advice or like when that clicked for you, like I'm a senior, and I'm still just struggling with that.
My answer is probably really bad because you should never rely on men for anything. But my boyfriend I met at Duke, and he was like hell bent on going into the film industry his entire life. And he went to Duke and was public policy major with me and like a good student, and came out and did the whole like LA mailroom thing as well. And I was kind of like, oh, someone else can like justify this. which is horrible advice, and don't like live your life like that. But the real advice is probably like, if you really, what that probably is, because what it was for me is like caring what people think about you, which let me tell you, the real is that like most people thought it was pretty fucking cool that I worked at TikTok. And like people were hitting me up for working at TikTok more than people are like hitting my friends up that are in their PhD programs, which like, what should we value as a society? There's like probably a larger issue there. But you know, if you're worried because people don't think you're serious enough, like people are going to be really like, oh wow, she works at a studio or she works at NBC. That's so cool. I wish I could do that, as they're like, you know, investment bankers.
Yeah, and I would just say, going off of that, everyone like I think can probably relate to that. But something that people always tell me is like, you spend more of your time like in your job than you do like in any other part of your life. So you really have to be happy like 9 to 5 every day. So that's kind of what I always like me and my friends have always kind of like leaned on, that like you spend more of your time in your professional work life and what you do there than your 2 days on the weekends or whatnot. So you have to make sure it's something that you really enjoy doing. And I think you also just have to decide what you want to prioritize. You know, there's different things. Is it security? Is it financials? Is it, you know, work-life balance? Is it the people you work in? Is it the city you live in or whatnot? Because there's a lot of people that work in other industries that have a pretty bad work-life balance and probably don't love what they're doing that much. And they're working till 1 a.m. So I think it matters what you want to prioritize, I would say, for sure.
I actually saw a TikTok recently, because I still spend like most of my time on there, which is bad, but where someone was like, do you guys know that trend where it's like, that is a scarecrow? So anyone? No, maybe not. But there was a TikTok where someone was like, investment bankers be working like 100 hours a week, but like making 150K a year or something. And it's like, that's minimum wage, you know? So it's like, don't be lured by the money, because if they're going to like work you to death, it doesn't end up being as much money.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We're just about almost out of time. All right. If there aren't any other questions, I just wanted to thank both Nikki and Emma. Thank you so much for your time. This was a great panel, and I just wanted to thank everyone else. Yeah, if everyone could give a little thumbs up, a clap emoji, something. I know it's a little awkward on Zoom, but thank you so much, and thanks everyone for coming.
Of course.
Thank you.
Hit us up, guys.
So much.
Yes.
Yeah.